Okay, it's 6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting of the Waushara County Board of Supervisors for the September meeting to order. We'll start out with roll call. Everybody present? Yep. Okay, everybody is present. So at this time, we'll rise for a silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you were all sent an agenda. Is there any additions or corrections to that agenda? Okay, hearing none, I would look for a motion to accept the agenda. Motion by Mr. Urban, second by Mr. McCormick. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, you were also sent the minutes of the August 20th, 2024 monthly meeting. Is there any additions to those minutes? Or corrections? Motion to approve. Okay, motion by Mr. Wadle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bossard. Any comments? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, sounds good. We have public comments. We have one public comment from Sam Wood.
I stood before you for the first time demanding accountability for a county employee attacking me. It has evolved into way more as other things have been uncovered. What is government accountability? Is government accountability anti-government? If any of you have different opinions or different motives from the person next to you, are you anti-government? But as anyone that stands before you here at this podium to address the board, anti-government, or is it just me? Yes, Waushara County Corporate Counsel has labeled me anti-government. Asserted claims and assessments delivered by the Corporate Counsel. To my knowledge, the following individuals have made statements about suing the county prior to the year ending December 31st, 2021. Sam Wood. Mr. Wood was involved in a dispute with the Highway Department and law enforcement on July 2021, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Wood is anti-government and often posts things about suing, but hasn't filed anything. Yes, you called that one wrong. Now, I wonder if she's reported my name to any government watch list. I also have been labeled a nuisance, and Corporate Counsel didn't want to know if anything would be done by the board due to elections. He broadcasts everything on Facebook and has several YouTube videos. He is polite when he is talking to anyone that is not from the highway. He is just being a nuisance. I don't know what he will do. He did state that the board is interested in pursuing termination, and that is certainly not good business practice to start firing people just because one person is demanding it. But we have some contested elections this spring, so I also don't know what the board will do. Now, I know Corporate Counsel doesn't want me here because I demand accountability. If you have this is sent to Brian over the sand issue. If you have quotes and estimates on the sand, I would send those. Otherwise, I would not respond. You gave him policy and told him it would be further addressed at the Public Works. Even though I don't necessarily want him to come, I would consider sending him an agenda when the committee is discussing it so that he is advised we are not making things up. If any one of you, including Corporate Counsel, would have been on the receiving end of George Nye's assault, I'm sure accountability would have been swift and harsh. So with my statute of limitations running out and after obtaining these emails, I believe there's no other path except to restart my lawsuit. I'm sure you all have been informed since the papers have been served. For the record, I'm not anti-government. I'm pro-accountability.
Okay, we'll go on then with unfinished business. There is none. Move into new business, reports and presentations. County Administrator's monthly report with Corporate Council Interim Administrator Ruth Selski.
So we've been receiving reports about misinformation regarding why municipalities are being reassessed. And that reassessment is due to the county demanding it so that we have more money to pay for our building. That is not how reassessments work. Reassessments are set by the state of Wisconsin, and municipalities have to be within a certain percentage and then are required to reassess. So Stephanie Sattler and I will be working on putting together some information that can go out on the website and into the Argus to try to stop this misinformation. When people have been calling us, we've been correcting them, and we have been notifying some of the assessors that this information is out there. So hopefully that information will get changed. Since Brian's retirement, I have been meeting with the Highway Department weekly to make sure that they have all of their documents that they need signed for the state, and any other issues that come up can be brought to the board. Those meetings are on Monday mornings. I'm working on completing our semi-annual report on the opioid settlement. Our current balance of unallocated funds is $101,597, and we need to file reports on that twice a year. So the first half of the year is due at the end of this month. The department heads met today, and we started talking about strategic planning. Tim Barut is here tonight to give the board a little bit of an overview with Deb Danker, and we will be working on that process with the department heads throughout 2025. We will be meeting with, we met with Megan, Sarah and I met with all the departments on the budgets, and there will be a formal report on our proposed budget next month on the agenda. We're continuing to sell items out of the old courthouse and North Annex. The bids for demolition are due at the end of this month. We've had several prospective contractors contact us, so I'm expecting multiple bids on that project. That's all I have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Ruth? Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go into the Waushara County Library's annual report with Winnifox Library System Director Clara Summersmith and the Waushara County Library Directors.
Hi. Good evening. I'm Kent Barnard. I'm the Wild Rose Library Director. And our report, of course, is from 2023 numbers because our numbers aren't done until January. But we'd like you to know what we've been doing. So some of the pictures are going to be, well, actually all the pictures will be from this year, but the numbers are from last year. Doesn't work. And just like that. Oh, there we go. So I love technology when it works.
Yeah, I can click it.
You can, there you go. So this is our comparison to last year, or excuse me, to 2022. We had a 20% increase in visits. We had 1,167 programs offered between all 8 libraries, which is about 165 programs per library per year. A lot of that is done not with any programming budgets that we're given tax money for, but it's done by money that we raise through our friends groups and other ways. We had a 17% increase in digital items, which is probably not a surprise to most people. We had a 6% increase in physical items being checked out, and 18% increase in program attendance. And I'm going to just go and start with our first library. We're each going to give a little. You'll see what we've done this year, and then they'll each talk about something a little bit different. We all kind of do, but we aren't going to each talk about everything. So, Deb, you're first.
G is running late.
Oh, you all coming up?
Yeah,
Oh, we're all coming up.
we're doing it like
Alphabetically, I'm Deb Sadowski, and Paloma is
the first of the alphabet that, yes, I'm first. Carolyn asked us each to feature different aspects of our library, and two of the ones that I chose, we have in our area, we have a large homeschool group, and they meet twice a month. And there's about 100 kids and parents, and they all meet and socialize, and they utilize the library to get their books, and they meet in, Coloma is where the library is located in the community center. So they meet in the community center part of the building, but then they come into the library to get their books and their supplies and that kind of stuff. And because we're part of the community center, we also we had only one time this summer that we were a cooling center, and so the library stayed open as well as the community center to allow people to have, instead of just sitting in a room, they could come in, use the computers, use the you know, just be in a cool space. But I think, at least in Coloma, the key is we support the community, and the community in turn supports us. And I think that's an integral part of all of our libraries in this county, is we feel that our communities embrace us.
Hi, my name is Lisa Eish. I'm the director at the Hancock Public Library. I'm actually going to talk about all the services that we offer, all the libraries have, that kind of make us the business center, the office center for our communities. Things like faxing, printing, and copying. You might think that faxes are kind of a thing of the past, but I promise you people are still faxing. If it's because of the liability or the immediacy of it or the reliability of it, I don't know. But I do have a woman who comes in every other week to fax her documents for the IRIS program, if that's something you're familiar with. She takes care of her husband at home, and she's not able to scan documents and email them. Now, those are other services that she could probably get taken care of at the library, but at this point in time, faxing is the easiest for her. We also have printing abilities and copying. People come in and copy all kinds of stuff. They copy things for important documents that they want duplicates for their own records, or even I have a person that comes in and faxes her, or not faxes, she copies her Yahtzee sheet so that she can continuously play Yahtzee. For printing, people can come in and use our public computers, and they can print from websites or their email. We also offer mobile printing at a lot of our libraries. Printing, the most common printing that I see people, or reasons that people are coming in to print at the libraries, is I think it's more affordable and economical. If you're at home and your home printer's out of ink, it's just easier to go pay 10 cents for that label you need for your return to Amazon or your schoolwork or whatnot. So it's an affordable, reliable service that we have. The mobile printing is kind of a tech thing that, you know, if people use it, they love it, but if they don't use it, they're afraid of it, they don't want to even try it. So that becomes the library's opportunity to help people with their tech devices. I know for me, I don't consider myself a tech expert by any means, but I do try to help people whenever they have questions regarding their phone or their other devices. And then of course, libraries offer Wi-Fi signals, and people are realizing that that's a reliable and very consistent thing that they can find through libraries. So with that, I'll turn it over to who's next.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Andrew Morey. I'm the director at the Pine River Library, or the Leon Saxville Library. I also would like to introduce Carly Terry. She is an intern coming from Oshkosh, and she's going to be joining our library for the next few months into December. So it's an extra director. Thanks for help. So first of all, just saying thank you to everyone here for all you do for the libraries. I've only been a director at the library for a year, and it's amazing The resources, I mean, I've always utilized them as a patron, and as a mother, but wow, the behind the scenes work, I think everyone can agree with me. It's like, oh, I didn't realize it was that much, but it's amazing what services the libraries do provide. And I was asked to speak about community building, but when I looked at it, I was like, well, community building or building community? They go hand in hand. And I really feel like our library is, we offer the building for the community to get together and offer those resources. So there's a number of things. Pine River, as you can see, these are some pictures of some of the events we have. There is a beautiful shelter from the town of Leon that we utilize quite a bit. It's a tiny library. It's probably about the size of this space right here, but we do a lot. And we're really proud of what we did this year with our programming. We go indoor, outdoor, young, old, but this year with the increase of the social media, using the Facebook, the website, the newspaper, I feel in a newsletter, I feel there's so many resources that we try to get the word out and let patrons know what we have for them. Having the library be a safe and welcoming place has been a priority since I've started there, and I believe it always has been. But the support of the board of trustees has been amazing. We now have, as many other libraries do, a security system. We use the ring system, but that gives patrons and the staff that security that I think they deserve. Also just making it might seem little, but little tweaks here and there. We have a puzzle table. We have a coffee pot. They now have a water dispenser with cold water. Those little things may seem like nothing, but they're big. They're things that the community walks in, they're like, oh, cold water now. And they come back for it. Or somebody can just come in for that cup of coffee and just say good morning. But it's really neat to have them come in and then they see the resources that we can offer as well. So we're a resource for the technology, the websites, and helping people find things they need within the community. Often they ask us and we can say, you know, the county courthouse, they'll have that resource and we can direct them to the resources they need. But it's also really a big place just to visit, and having the programs allows the community to come together. After doing a survey with the community, we did change our hours at our library. That was a big change. I don't know how many years. Some Bart or Clara, and you may know, but the hours at our library have been that for a while. But we surveyed the community and asked them what hours they prefer. So we did make a big change in the hours, that we have more mornings open to the community where it hasn't before. We're still open 6 days a week, but we have just switched it around a little bit, making that accessibility. And then the latest and newest addition that Bart, you're not even aware of, you're on our board, so I apologize, but you're getting it early. Due to Carly, she's like coming to all these ideas. I'm like, that's great, let's do it. Do you want to tell them or should I tell them? She didn't have to talk, but she did have to come up here with me. But the newest one is a little free pantry, similar to that you can take a book, leave a book pantries. But this is going to be a free pantry for our produce, for boxed or canned goods. And Carly took it upon herself and is completely funded by an organization called No Child Goes Hungry. And so it's going to be housed right outside the library, and patrons can take a can or take a box of food or whatever they need. Again, the services of the library, which I think you've heard before and you'll hear more tonight, and I'm wrapping it up, I promise. It's not just getting books and DVDs anymore. It's bringing the community and giving them the help they need. And this is one thing I think is really neat that Carly has initiated, and she's only been on for 2 weeks, so wait till next time. But again, we're always thinking ways. We're always looking for ways to meet the community's needs, be there for them. And just again, thank you for your support, because it really does matter.
Hi, I'm Bertie Steinbrook. I'm director of the Plainfield Library. So a few things that I'm going to address is the summer reading program to start with. Every library has a summer reading program, and I think I speak for every library when I say it is the busiest time of year for us. You often think of children's programming with the summer reading program, and we do that, but I think we all have aspects of it where we want to get the whole family involved, adults, everybody, get them active. I know you'll hear teachers talk about the summer slide, and part of the summer reading program, we incorporate reading challenges to help keep kids up on their reading abilities, and also to give them some fun and informational things to do during the summer, and boy, do we have a lot of activity in the library all summer long. We offer a lot of different programs, and that's true, I think, of all of the libraries, everything from performers to different kinds of arts and crafts and projects, scavenger hunts, fun things like that. So the summer is huge at all the libraries, and we find a lot of participation from our communities, which is fantastic. Something kind of related to this too, that you'll find at a lot of libraries, and Andrew kind of touched on it, is having like these play areas or maker spaces at the libraries, so that whenever someone, a child, young person pops into the library, there's some kind of cool activity that they can hang out and do, making the library kind of a welcoming place, some place that they want to come. And some other things I was going to talk about is our resource sharing and research assistance. One of the things that we get quite a lot at the library are people coming in and they're trying to find information on, I mean, you name any topic. We've gotten some very interesting requests, and they don't know where to start gathering information. That's one of the things that we definitely can help people do. We help guide research on any number of things. And through WinFox, we have access to a lot of different databases, so we could really help get people the information that they're looking for. So not only do we offer books on pretty much every subject that you can think of under the sun, we have access to all kinds of digital resources, and we can help people get on board with whatever they're trying to find out. And just a couple little tidbits about a few other little things. We were talking about resources. I think every library does a good job of kind of keeping track of the pulse of their community and kind of monitoring what their local area needs. We all try to work very hard to be as valuable as we can to the community and assessing the needs that our patrons in our area kind of need. Oddly enough, in Plainfield, we get a lot of requests to have things laminated, which is something we do. We can do it. We don't live near an Office Depot or something like that. We get that comment from a lot of people. Some of their like office needs, business needs. We have people coming in and asking us to print their resumes on nice paper. We keep parchment paper around just for that, so they have something nice to put a paper resume on. Curbside assistance, that was a big thing during COVID, but I think all of the libraries were doing that before, and we still do it because we have some patrons that have limited mobility, and they just prefer to have their materials brought out to them. So that is something that we'll always offer. So yeah, we just try to do the best to read our community and provide their specific needs. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dawn Butler. I've been the director at the Quayside Library for 2 years now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Story Hour. I think Story Hour has a long-standing tradition in libraries. You guys probably have memories of going to Story Hour yourself. It's certainly the liveliest day of the week at our library. We usually think of libraries as quiet and everybody's reading or studying, but on Monday mornings when we get Story Hour, it is anything but quiet. It's a lot of laughter, a lot of singing, craft projects, and glitter everywhere. So this isn't only just the funnest day of the week, in my opinion. It also offers a really good benefit to our community members because kids get a little bit of a head start on some readiness for school and some cognitive development. It encourages language development. They get some social skills. And I think the one thing that has surprised me is it's also a really good resource for parents to network with each other. I've seen a lot of parents talking and getting to know each other and supporting each other with so many things that come up in raising children. So it's a great time both for the kids, for me personally, I love it, and for the parents as well. I think they feel very supported in a community where there isn't a lot of other resources like that. We have 15 to 25 in attendance at all of our Story Hours, which for Quayside is huge. I mean, we're really proud of that number. I know there's probably bigger numbers in some of the bigger libraries, but We really enjoyed that day, and we also have just recently added a family story hour in the evenings once a month. So we're trying to get families that maybe aren't able to come during the morning for story hour to come in, maybe bring along extended family, grandmas, grandpas, whoever they can bring in to enjoy some story time, some craft projects, some singing, and just some good networking with each other. So a super important resource for our families and our community. Thanks for listening today.
Jeannie Macbeth is the director of the Red Granite Public Library. She wasn't able to join us today, so I'm going to pretend to be Jeannie for the evening, for this portion of the evening. She was going to talk about community partnerships, and that's something that Jeannie really excels at. She thinks so broadly about where the library can do and what the library can do. She knew the library was open on Saturdays, for example, and she was tired of working Saturdays and things were slow. So she started a community farmers market in the parking lot of the public library because she wanted to bring more people into town on Saturday morning. She wanted to see more people. And this was her way to think of a partnership that she could do with other local businesses and other communities. She also has worked to do partnerships with the public library and the local town. So officially, this is the Red Granite Public Library. She gets direct support from Red Granite and from Waushara County. She doesn't need to be going out to township meetings, but she's involved in providing them that business office materials that are so often that we talk about, the printing or the videotaping of the material of the meetings. It's so important that people have access to information, and that's something that Jeannie takes really seriously, not just with books, but access to information about what is happening in your local government. And she wants people to be involved and be excited about what's happening in their community. So those are the great things that Red Granite is doing. I'm going to turn it over to the next person.
Hello, I'm Hannah from the Washington Public Library. I'm going to talk about our meeting rooms. As everyone has already said, community is great. So our meeting rooms foster community engagement. We provide space for local groups, clubs, and organizations. Being an inclusive and accessible space, our room is used for educational and career development workshops, small business meetings, remote workers. We have a lot of vacationers, and at their townhouse or country house, whatever, they don't have internet, so they always come to the library and they want to do a Zoom call or whatever. And if you look at our pictures, the third one on the bottom, we just added a new study and meeting space just for that purpose. It was one of the biggest requests we had. Do you have a private meeting space? Do you have a place where I can study quietly? So we fundraised and we had a donation from the town of Marion from the ARPA funds, and that's what you get. So we also have in our meeting rooms book clubs, author talks, studying, tutoring. Today it was very exciting. A group of probably like 5 or 6 teenagers came in and they went straight back to that room and got their homework out and they were studying together, and it's just really fun to see that. We also serve as a place for supervised visits where a parent has to have a supervised visit and they come and play in the meeting room and have lunch together, or they go in the kids' room too. We also have story time, and we have book sales, school visits, and other library programs. Some libraries, ours does this. We offer individuals the use of the meeting room for family gatherings or birthday parties for people who don't have a space like that. And then book clubs. A lot of our libraries have book clubs. We have 2 that we host at our library, and then we also support probably 4 different groups by ordering books from other libraries if there are enough copies that not everyone has to buy the book. We believe that book clubs are important because they encourage reading as a habit, and then it also creates that sense of belonging. You're reading together with the same people all the time. You can open your minds through discussion and see different perspectives maybe you never thought of before, and it also helps with critical thinking and communication skills. So check and see when your library's book club is. Really fun.
Hello again. So I do have a couple things that are the same as other libraries, and we have a couple of things that are very different. We have, one of the things all libraries have always been a part of, and that is a repository and a keeper of local history. We have been able, because we wrote a grant a few years ago, to digitize all of our old notebooks and ephemera that was, basically a lot of it was falling apart. Things like about the Music Man coming from Wild Rose, the original Music Man. So we were able to save that, and now that's accessible and searchable online. We also have put in, like Hannah has, we have people in the summer that, even though they're on vacation, they have to attend a Zoom meeting. And so we have a space that we dedicated to that, that they can come in and they can use our computer or their computer. There's soundproofing, well, sound absorption, I should say, not soundproofing. So they have relative quiet. And then we also have, a few years ago, when we wrote the grant, we needed to, I had somebody approach me and they had all those 8mm tapes from Wild Rose football from back in the day when they were the Rosies. And said, you know, something to play them on. And I said, no. And then I got one, and then I said, well, they never came back. But I realized that people needed a way to save those memories. So now we have a digitization area where you can bring in 8mm, super 8mm, VHS, VHS-C, cassettes, audio cassettes like your mixtape you made for your high school sweetheart, and slides, excuse me, and most other formats for cameras. You can digitize all that, and I've had quite a few people that have come in. The most common has been VHS or VHS-C, but I did have a guy who had 8mm tapes from back when he was like 3 years old, and they were taken when he was in Holland, and he hadn't seen them for really 60 years, and so he was really excited that he got to see these again. So it's something we have. We have also done, we do the same thing everyone else does. It's a community meeting place. We have parents that need to meet with their kids that don't have access to them sometimes. And that's about it. Oh, one more thing.
I feel bad not to talk to you directly, even if it was my name on the agenda. So my name is Clarence Summersmith, and I'm the director of the Winnetonka Library System. And I do the number portions of it and the budget requests. I'm really glad I didn't have to talk at the beginning of this, not because I don't like talking to meetings, but these are the people who are doing the important things in your community, and I wanted to highlight them. And I know that it took a while, but that's because you're so lucky. You have 8 libraries in this county, which is unheard of in other communities your size. Just to the north, you know, it's a county library system, and so you have one major building, and that's it. The community that this county is supporting is just truly phenomenal to see the fact that you have 8 different libraries reaching out to their 8 individual communities. And you'll see in the budget request, our typical request goes up by 2% each year. 2%, you think, oh, cost of living. I want to translate that into actual dollars. That means when we ask for a 2% increase, our smallest libraries are getting $500 more than they did last year. Ooh. And our largest libraries are getting $3,000 more than they did last year. And so you'll also see in this year's budget request, if possible, an additional funding request to do all those above and beyond things, to update some of the equipment that they're using when we talk about business meetings, business office materials like printers or copiers, to do more programming, to start a new collection in a new format. You know, we have more different kinds of audiobooks, more electronic materials. That's what that special funding is going to be asking for. So it's sort of above and beyond things that you cannot afford when your increase from the county is only going up $500 per year. And again, $500, I don't want to dismiss that, because I do think the support from the county is generous, and it means that we have libraries in these small communities. But I want those numbers to stick with you, that the work that they are doing is based on budgets, total annual budgets that are between $50,000 and $250,000. They're running a library on $60,000 a year, and they are meeting the community needs there. And so every single dollar that you can support and give to the libraries in your community
is true, it goes somewhere. It means something. It means that person can digitize their history. It means that kid goes to story time. It is touching actual people. So I want to leave you with that. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to all of us, and have a good county meeting.
Thank you. I know most of us sit on a library board, but does anybody have any questions for any of the librarians or Claire Allen?
You can ask me funding or budget numbers, and you can ask them about any of the things they do.
Anything else? Okay, well, it's very obvious that all of you directors are very dedicated and you're evolving to keep yourself relevant to your community, which is very good with all the services you've offered. So thank you very much. It was a very good report. Thank you. All right, next we'll have the Department of Human Services Annual Report with our Human Services Director, Clara Voigtlander.
Good evening. Barry, I'm hoping you're just gonna switch for me. Sure. Because it doesn't seem working. Okay. Good evening. I'm Clara Voigtlander, Director of Human Services. In the past years, I've provided a lot of information relative to numbers of clients served and how many people come through our units. And this year we do have some new board members, and I'm hoping to focus more on what is our impact and what exactly do our services look like. I also know we have quite a few reports tonight, so I'll try to be succinct. So I just want to start with acknowledging that Human Services is one of the largest departments in our county government. Underneath me, there are 10 separate departments or units. We do have 62 full-time staff, which include 4 contracted doctors. We have 2 psychiatrists that we contract with to provide medication management. We have an MD who contracts with us to oversee some of our AODA services. And additionally, we have a psychologist who oversees our crisis unit functioning. We're operating on an $8 million plus budget. And we have both state mandated services and then voluntary services that we offer. So I just share that to provide a lay of the land of the magnitude and expanse of our department and the variety of things that we do. So this is, I don't expect anybody to read this in depth or take much away from this other than, again, just to emphasize the size of our department. What I do want to note that I think is relevant for this report to the board is that when I started in my position as director 3 years ago, I've been flowing at any time between 9 to 11 vacancies. That's very challenging for a department that offers mandated or that has mandated services, because the services have to be provided regardless of whether you have the staff or not. As of today, and I haven't even updated my DHS board members on this yet, but we are at 1 vacancy. So we have seen just incredible shifts in recruiting and maintaining staff, and you'll see all of our departments there with many staff underneath it. So we are coming along in human services. So what do we do? We provide 24/7 on-call crisis services. We provide 24/7 adult protective services and child protective services care as well. What that means is that our department is mandated to accept and respond to referrals relative to adults who may be financially exploited or abused, children who are being neglected or abused, and any mental health crisis. In 2023, we had 682 calls come through to our crisis line and our APS line. We screened 413 referrals of child neglect and abuse through our child protective services. We also operate a certified mental health and AODA clinic. What that means is that we have to maintain a certification through the state of Wisconsin. We have to meet statutory requirements, and there have to be certain elements that meet statute and different forward health regulations for us to maintain certification. In our clinic right now, we have 321 clients open for our outpatient mental health services and 182 clients open for alcohol and other drug abuse services. So we have fully operational, about a dozen people in our clinic who are providing these services day in and day out. We also provide OWI assessments in partnership with the state.
In 2023, we did 116 OWI assessments. What will come from that then is oftentimes we refer someone in-house to our AODA counseling services as part of a driver safety plan. We also establish eligibility for food share and benefits. Our economic support staff often hold a caseload of 450 plus each. There's 6 staff who do that, and they respond to Medicaid benefits, food share benefits, running a regional call center that's shared with other counties, taking rotations in that call center and ensuring that eligibility. We provide extensive case management services. This could be to individuals living with a mental health condition, children living with physical or behavioral needs. At this time, we have about 60 people who are served through our intensive case management services. Our children's long-term support program and Birth to 3 provides services for over 150 youth in our community. And we have a fully functional treatment court that at any given time has about 10 to 15 participants in it. Lastly, I want to note that we also have prevention programming that does very meaningful activities for families and children in our community to meet needs that might otherwise be lacking. Some examples of that are we do offer a backpack nutrition program where food is placed into a child's backpack discreetly so that they have food to eat at night or through the weekend. And that number has continually grown. In previous years, we've served about 140 kids, and right now we're at 226 and in 4 different school districts. We also have a back to school bash. This year we serve 500 children, providing backpacks and full school supplies for them. So I share that just to outline the scope of our services and the number of people that are positively impacted or reached through human services work. And then I wanted to just share a little bit of specifics, again, to give an idea of what are some of the things that we do in our day-to-day operations. And so I have 4 cases that I want to talk about that connect the dots between our services and how we collaborate and make meaningful outcomes and an impact on our community. First, I want to talk about a father of 2. He was a previous member of our treatment court. Children were removed from his care, one of which was ultimately placed in a residential program. Parent was enrolled in our case management programs. He and his children were also enrolled in our outpatient mental health programs. Placed at a local foster home, out of the residential intensive supports were provided. We used children's long-term support to provide respite and different supportive services. And 2 months ago, the children were reunified with their father, who also has been maintaining sobriety for a long period of time. Second to that, I want to share about a young man who has a very long history, and he had come to share his history at our DHS board of youth justice charges, so ultimately being cited with a juvenile crime in the community. He is, for lack of better words, what would be referred to as a failed adoption, meaning that wasn't an adoption through the state. That adoptive parent ultimately no longer wanted their child in their care. He was placed in residential out of state. This is a huge cost, as well as certainly not what we want to see for a child who's from the Bashir County community. We eventually were able to return to a residential setting here in the state, located a resource locally who wasn't previously licensed, but had a relationship with this child, poured supports around him, used our children's long-term support programming. Ultimately, this family took guardianship of this youth, and he has a year in of no charges, was able to do a ride-along with the City of Tacoma Police, and is now back full-time in school and on the football team. Third, I want to share about an adult female who we were receiving repeated crisis calls regarding, and law enforcement was responding to this as well. So it takes a toll on our systems. Liver damage from chronic alcohol abuse, wasn't able to perform any self-care tasks, was essentially just physically, emotionally, mentally deteriorating based on alcohol use. We sent staff out from our case management and our AODA services just to repeatedly be knocking on the door, offering services. We are here to help. We want to decrease the experience that you're going through and decrease these crisis calls and law enforcement interactions. We put her through detox on 2 different occasions. With grant funds, we were able to pay for her to go to a residential treatment facility. She is now enrolled in full benefits with the help of economic support and is in assisted living and 188 days sober.
And then lastly, I want to share with you about a woman who had a mental health crisis, was hospitalized. We supported her in being in a stabilization facility and bringing her home with community support, psychiatric care, case management, and is now maintaining her own home vehicle and also even has guardianship of her adult son. So I share those just to show you the work that Human Services does in some of our recent cases, and again, that positive impact that we see from our services. And then the ever important budget. So I have two graphs for you, one related to revenue and the next regarding expenses. What I would share here is that our big news, and I've shared this with the board in past reports, is that there was a large pool of reserve funds that had been available for human services. We're one of the rare budgets that ebbs and flows. Because of our mandated services, we sometimes have placements or uncontrollables. And so we try to be prepared and thinking forward for those so that we're thoughtful and careful with our budgeting. What we can control is our revenue. And so you'll see that essentially our revenue is demonstrating consistency with somewhat of an increase. I would add to that the overall increase is still occurring even in the absence of us having our extra revenue funding that we had before, our additional reserve funding. So our billing is increasing, and that's currently one of our goals too, is to look at how do we continue to bring in revenue so we can do the meaningful work we do. On the flip side, expenses as well are showing some level of consistency. You'll see that overall program services has dropped. So what that means is really we're doing more with less. We're doing more in-house as opposed to contracted services. Our placements are often out of our control, costs are increasing yearly, and yet we're trying to think creatively and outside of the box and maintain services here locally as opposed to relying on residential centers or outsourcing, which comes at a higher expense and we don't feel is the best interest of our residents. And so lastly, talking about moving forward, areas of focus, we are looking at expanding the sourcing and use of grant funds. Human Services relies heavily on grant funds. And so something I've been working with Ruth and now Megan on is looking at, we've historically had a grant worker, a 50% grant worker. We'd like to bring that position back and share that partially with administration as well. So we're hopeful that that will help us expand our grant funds. Continue to look at ways to increase revenue. Again, we cannot rely on out-of-state residential facilities. We cannot pay exorbitant costs and put people far away from their families. We have to be continuing to build a culture of creative and resourceful programming and service delivery and trying to serve people locally. Looking at ways that we can address gaps in services and making adjustments. Where do we need staff? Where do we need a higher level of service? And then lastly, just my ongoing goal is retaining content and productive staff. I'm very proud of the staff that we have right now, and I'm proud of our org chart being full, and I know that the good work we do is contingent upon us having good staff. So that would be an area of focus as well. So thank you all for listening, and I'm open to any questions if you have any.
Is anybody? Yes, Allison.
I have a question. Well, first, thank you for everything you do. I can imagine it's easy, but you mentioned there's one vacancy, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your secret? How are you recruiting?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me why you see more on there, and I was going to say, well, there's 3 on the org chart, but that's because some of the positions we've switched and aren't actively filling.
Yeah, you said there was a big shift in the recruiting and maintaining the staff. So
So when I started, there was a large push of retirements prior to me coming in. So part of it was just the classic ups and downs of, staffing. We had people who worked here for 30 years and they were retirement. So I think no matter what, things are going to look better just because we had nowhere to go but up. I do think what I hear from employees globally is that they appreciate Wishart County's benefits. I also hear that they like the local aspect, like a lot of people live, even to our core council who, has been here for a long time, is accessible to staff. That's something that really pulls staff in. Internally, I would say that our best recruiting tool and where we've pulled a lot of staff from lately is word of mouth and relationships. We had 3 staff one of which is my deputy director, Jenna, who will speak later, who came back to us, who left years ago. And we had 3 staff who came back who were highly skilled and missed being at Washera County, wanted to be here. They knew that their colleagues were people they wanted to work with. So I think that's been helpful, is that word of mouth and those community relationships, and demonstrating that we want to provide good service, and we're constantly concerned with improvements, and people want to be a part of that, is my hope.
Is there any other questions for Clara? Okay, thank you.
Thank
No,
you.
it's staggering to hear all the services that you guys provide. It just is amazing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good report. All right, next we'll have a strategic planning update with our community development educator, Tim Baroud, and the human services risk manager, Deb Dink.
All right, good evening, everyone. Barry, is that it for me? All right. My name is Tim Baroud. I'm the new community development educator here in Washera County with UW Extension. And my goal this evening is just to give you a very brief, quick overview of the start of the strategic planning work on behalf of departments here in the county. So on the first slide, you'll see here, this actually, we had a department head meeting today. We talked about the why behind the strategic planning. As you all know, the county board here adopted a mission, vision, and values back in February. And so that is now trickling to the departments to go ahead and begin the process of strategically planning around those particular values. And so today we talked about the value of strategic planning, the need for it, what the expectation is, and then how that will be facilitated. Next slide. So then next month at the department heads meeting, we will talk about a preliminary timeline. What does this whole process look like? And just so all of you know, from now until the end of this year, will be just readiness on the part of the departments. So it'll be Deb and myself coming in to department head meetings for 10-15 minutes, helping them prepare to get ready to do the strategic planning process. And then there's a graphic there showing the general process of strategic planning, starting with your mission and vision, and then doing your needs assessments, creating goals, identifying measures to see if they're meeting goals, and then strategies to address the issues you need to address in your department. Then November. In November, we will share with the department heads the who and the how. So one is communication. How are we going to be clear in our communication through this process? What kind of protocols and processes will be in place? And then also gathering some input from department heads around what they feel is the best structure to do this in. Some departments might feel like it's best for them to do this as an individual department. Other departments may feel that undertaking this alongside another department that has similar goals in the county might be a good idea. And so that discussion will take place in November. And then finally, in December, we will talk about some initial tasks for department heads. Where do we start? How do we get this process fully rolling here? Talking about the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and getting that going, and then sharing also all of the different ways that department heads will have the ongoing support as they undertake the process of strategic planning. And the goal would be that we would lead them and facilitate them through the process, while at the same time building their own capacity, capability to do this on their own at some point. So a gradual release of responsibility. For those of you who know the education jargon, that's kind of the method we'll use. And then finally, the last slide here, the actual plan creation. If readiness is the rest of this year, the actual plan creation will be all of 2025. It is a big process, and there are a lot of departments. And so we're setting aside the calendar year 2025 to do all these different pieces in a very facilitated, structured way, so everybody feels supported and they feel confident going through it, and hopefully learn a lot. That's all for me.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Yeah, it's important to make sure that that's a good working plan that everyone can use. Does anyone have any questions at this point for Tim? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends our reports. Next we'll move into discussion, possible motion, action items. The first one is the YMCA letter of intent. You were all sent that with your packet. Is there any questions? Otherwise, I would look for a motion to accept that letter of intent. Okay, moved by Mr. Gray. Is there a second? Second by Ms. McCormick. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, you can go ahead and vote. Okay, the letter of intent is accepted. And I would just like to say, as Ryan is in the audience here, Ryan, thank you for your hard work for this. I know it's just another step in the process, but you've worked very hard and we appreciate it not only for city of Wautoma, but for Waushara County and as a whole. So very important. And Kyle and Laney too, and your whole committee has worked very hard and stayed really dedicated to this. So we do appreciate that. Thank you. Next, we'll move into the county administrator employment agreement. You were sent that as well. Is there any questions? Okay, I would look for a motion. Motion by Mr. Bossard, second by Mr. Peterson. Is there any questions? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, go ahead and vote on that. Okay, and that passes. Next is consideration and possible action on the following resolution and ordinances. Resolution number 30-09-24, resolution to add a CLTS case manager to the Department of Human Services. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Urban. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Kirschner. Is there any discussion? Anybody want any clarification or discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Okay, and that resolution passes. Resolution number 31-09-24, adopting the Waushara County Hazard Mitigation Plan. You were all sent this as well. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Ms. McCormick. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gray. Is there any discussion?
It's amazing that she was able to email that.
That was amazing. That was a lot of pages. It's very thorough.
Can we go through that page by page?
Yeah, Justin, start out with page 1. All right, well, it's important. It's very important to have. So with that, then we'll go ahead and vote. Okay, and that resolution passes. Resolution number 32-09-24, a resolution giving the acknowledgement of Brian Freimark's commendable service to Waushara County. Is there a motion? A motion by Mr. Kirschner. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gray. Is there any discussion?
I've got a question.
Okay.
When it comes to commending any department heads or employees for work that they've done for the county, like, is there a standard set? Or it seems like we've been issuing these resolutions of thanking people, commending them for their service, like regardless of the reason for leaving. Or it seems like it should be something like, hey, you're here for 20 years, you're retiring, thank you, and thank you for your service. But if we commend like every bit of service regardless of the reasons for departing, all of a sudden our commending doesn't really mean much for the people receiving it. So I was just wondering, like, has the county always issued these resolutions commending people, or like when did it start? And can we set some parameters on it? Is it
There currently is nothing in writing about how it is done. It has been done consistently over the years. Typically, the county clerk's office prepares ones for department heads. And usually it's when they are retiring from public service. And then other departments, it is up to their department head whether or not to submit one. And most of them come through if they have been a long-term employment and they are retiring from public service. But there is no set standard in writing. And so if that's something that the board would like to develop, it's something we certainly can look at.
Yeah, and then like does someone's future employment by another county or something like that kind of depend on having a resolution like this from the county that they left?
No.
Okay. All right, yeah, I just, like, I don't wanna be a jerk, but I also, like, we have got language in here that on behalf of the residents of Waushara County, we wanna commend this person, and it's a mixed bag most times, so, thanks, that answers
Yeah,
that.
I guess, Jesse, you're voting for your people, I guess, you know, in this case, so that's, you know, how you have to approach it. So is there any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Okay, and the resolution passes. Okay, so, then we'll move on to ordinance number 688, an ordinance amending chapter 1, section 1 through 13 of the Waushara County Code. You were sent this as well, and that's mostly for the billing in the sheriff's department, isn't it?
Yeah, we haven't increased these fees for a number of years, and so in talking to the jail lieutenant and looking at what is being charged in surrounding communities and to help offset some of the cost of housing our inmates, it was time to increase the fees, and so that's what this is about.
Okay, I look for a motion to support this. Motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Waddle, second by Mr. Gray. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, proceed to vote. Okay, the ordinance passes. Ordinance number 689, ordinance amending Waushara County zoning maps pursuant to the authority granted in chapter 58 Waushara County Code, zone change, David Landers, Town of Plainfield. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Mr. Johnson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Waddle. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, you go ahead and vote. Okay, and the ordinance passes. All right, with that, then we have proclamations. The first one is designating September of 2024 as Jury Appreciation Month. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Ms. McCormick. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Urban. Any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote. Okay, and the motion passes. The proclamation recognizing October of 2024 as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Is there a motion to adopt? Yes, by Mr. Bossert. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gray. Any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote on this.
My screen went blank. Yes.
Okay, so the proclamation is accepted. All right, with that, then we are at a point where I would look for board suggestions for future agenda items. Is there any? Okay, our next meeting is October 15th, and the one after that is actually on November 5th. It's earlier because of our budget. So
I've got a suggestion for
Okay.
future agenda items.
Mhm.
So Clara had brought up in her report about adding a grant writer, 50% human services, 50% admin. Now, I was wondering if we could entertain looking into what it would look like budget wise or department wise to have a grant writer specifically for human services and then create another position of grant writer for administration.
Pretty sure the municipalities would like to get involved in on that too. I know our Granite's been discussing it. I would agree with that.
Okay. Any other suggestions? Yes.
Yeah, I have one too, about the policy, maybe putting a policy in place like Jesse had discussed, about this, because I had also emailed John and Ruth the same exact question that you had, Jesse, like, is there a policy in place for how we're doing this? So I think that would be a good thing to look into as well.
That as well. Okay, sounds good. All right, any others? With that, then I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Johnson, is there a second? Second by Mr. McCormick. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
When you guys